Greetings, gardeners. Hey, boy, I'll tell you, if there's one bugaboo here in Hawaii other than the slug or the rat and the pig that could drive you out of your mind, it is the pickle worm. Now, I don't get very many questions from folks out and about in the mainland U.S., other than maybe in Florida, about the pickle worm. But here in Hawaii, I get a lot of questions from locals on what do we do with this thing, because right here we have a delicious cucumber. This is one of the Middle Eastern varieties called Amiga. It seems to work pretty well here. I'm doing well with Amiga in this area, but man, I tell you, if you don't do something to protect cucumbers here, you're never going to have a pickle. You're never going to have a salad. This moth is just horrible as far as what it will do to the entire genus. It really doesn't matter whether you're trying to grow cucumbers, whether you're growing summer squash, winter squash, melons. They don't care. They'll eat it all. Now, some of the folks in the northern tier of states, maybe as far north as, say, Illinois, they're probably familiar with a bug we call the squash vine borer. Now, that bug has a similar habit. It's a moth. It lays eggs in the stems of mostly squashes and pumpkins in this case, and then it bores through the stem and it just eats the inside out and literally kills the plant. You can watch 15 foot of vine with the pumpkins on it just die because of the silly thing. I recognize them from back in the Midwest. Now, the pickle worm is more of a tropical moth, and it exists year-round, mostly in the southern tier. You can find it in South Florida, maybe South Texas, might even be in very southern California and places, but it's definitely here on the Big Island. We're all bugged by this thing. And what it does is it's a nocturnal moth, being a little different from the squash vine borer, which is a diurnal clearwing moth. Okay, so the squash vine borer, if you have that problem, the bug is out in the day, and the bug will respond to pheromones from traps made for that insect. So you do have a biological control. Our pickle worm moth here in Hawaii, we really don't have a pheromone that works on this thing to my knowledge. Now, I have utilized traps like this one using Q lure, C-U-E, with some result, but not a lot. For me, so far, the most effective means of control, which will guarantee me pickles on my pickle vines, is Spinosad. Spinosad is a bacteria. It's a biological approach. Every time I say this in front of people, everybody goes, "Oh no, I don't use sprays, I don't use chemicals." And so if I make a suggestion, it's usually not going to be a chemical. And so at least on the USDA's list of approved insecticides for use on organic produce, Spinosad's on that list. You've been eating it already, I guarantee, from your health food store. The bacteria was found in a rum distillery in Barbados, where the tailings heap from the sugarcane never got any vermin in it. And when somebody analyzed the heap, they found this bacteria, Bacillus spinosas, living in the heap. And so they went ahead, isolated it, and it's on the market. And now it's relatively safe. It only affects hard-bodied insects and leaf-chewing worms. That's all it goes after. So it doesn't work on scale, mealybugs, thrips, aphids. These are all what we call soft-bodied insects, so they don't count. It's rather specific. You do have to be careful, though, with the honeybee, with this material, because if it's in the flower and it's still wet, the honeybee can be injured by it. So ideally, you will spray this stuff on your plants in the evening, because the bees have gone to bed for the day. It will be dry by morning, and it's okay on the fresh flowers that open up in the morning, because the bees don't eat the stuff. They only pollinate flowers. It's effective really only on something that's going to decide it's going to bite into the plant. It'll get a mouthful of it. So either cover your crop up while it's drying, or do it in the evening so it dries by morning so that the bees won't be harmed if you use Spinosad. There is also a possibility, according to the University of Hawaii, that BT, Bacillus thuringiensis, may also work, which is another bacteria. Here we are at the garden shed, and people are always asking me, they want to know, Bill, what did you use? What's the name of it? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't usually do this. The reason why is that I don't advocate any particular brand of product to begin with, okay? So I don't advertise for anybody. Also, these products that I talk about a lot of times, like Spinosad, it's the fine print right here on the label. A little word right down there. It's not up here. You see, you won't walk into a store and see Spinosad on the bottle. If you want to find Spinosad, you have two choices pretty much. One, either find a competent nurseryman who knows his stuff or her stuff. Go on up, ask him and go, what stuff on the shelf has Spinosad in it and how do I use it? Or walk around the store and read the fine print, because this stuff can be found in I can't think of how many different bottles by different manufacturers. And really it's up to, what's on your local shelf at the hardware store or at Amazon or wherever you get it from. And, what do you want to pay for it? What bottle size? Okay? So it comes in all forms and configurations. Fine print, folks. All right? So now still, whether it's a bacteria or not, there are still a lot of people out there that just don't want to spray. And so that's fine. There are other alternatives to this bug. This right here is a product called Agribon. And Agribon is a floating row cover. That's the generic term for these. They're made by Agribon, by Remay. There's a few varieties of this out there on the market. It's pretty much an extruded plastic that looks a whole lot like gauze. Light goes through it, air goes through it, water goes through it. You can put it down over a crop and you don't have to take it off. This is Agribon 19, and 19 is one of the finest grades that's used for pest protection, bird protection, blah, blah, things that might get into the crop on you. It is so thin that heat does not build up under this very much, okay? There are other forms of Agribon that are thicker, that are used for frost protection blankets, say in California or Florida or places like that over the winter, or in late summer and fall up in the northern tier. You can cover your crops up and protect them from frost with the heavier versions of this product. But the light versions are used for keeping pests off. As I said, this is Agribon 19. It's available commercially at good nurseries and on the internet and so on. Now, you can take a cucumber crop and you can cover the cucumber crop with this stuff until the flowers come. And at the point that the flowers start to come on, you can open it up during the daytime so the bees can get in to pollinate your flowers, and then cover it up again at nightfall. Now, it doesn't matter whether we're talking squash, melons, cucumbers, okay, all same thing, because the moth is a night flyer, and because it's a night flyer, you can leave the vines open during the day for the bees to get to. All right, now that's one approach. Another approach is you can use a greenhouse forcing style of cucumber, like a parthenocarpic cucumber. These are cucumbers that will set fruit on their own without pollination from bees. Now, we don't have, to my knowledge, melons that do that, or squash that do that, but we do have cucumber varieties made for greenhouses. They're available. If you look on the web at seed companies like Johnny's or Stokes or someone like this, if you search parthenocarpic cucumber or the greenhouse self-pollinating cucumbers, you will find cucumbers that can be grown without bees. And so the cucumbers that you can grow without bees can be put under this stuff throughout the entire crop. So you don't have to put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off. So there's another approach, okay? We have one other idea here that the University of Hawaii came up with that I thought was pretty slick, so let's check this one out. Okay, so while reading the University of Hawaii's website, I came across a really interesting idea that they had, and it's that they say the moth has a wingspan of slightly over an inch. Well, they said if you used netting, like this bird netting here, this is nylon bird netting that has a 3/4 inch mesh, that the moth wings won't fit through this, so they can't fly through. That will repel them. That's the idea. Now, I don't know. Okay, but it's a good idea. And they're saying if you just cover your vines up, whether it be squash, melons, cucumbers, with a bird net that has a 3/4 inch mesh, bees should be able to come through it to be able to pollinate the crop, but the moth won't be able to come through this. I don't know. He might be able to work his way in there, but it's a really, really good idea, and I am going to trial it because I just happen to have 3/4 inch bird net that I use for my berries here. University had one other decent idea, and that was the using a bug zapper. And so I recommend giving that a try if you have one around. Hang it over your squash patch and see if they'll go in there. Anyway, good luck. That's everything I happen to know about pickle worm, and at the moment I am getting good crops of pickles by using Spinosad. So that definitely does work. Aloha, hang loose. Y'all have a wonderful garden.